You're watching NFL Daily Live here on Chat Sports. Chase Sr. and Tom Downey here with you. And today's show brought to you by our friends here at Manscaped. I'll tell you what, Manscaped offers some great products. And when I made the move here to Dallas from Pennsylvania to join the Chat Sports squad, it got very interesting down there. And one of my first things that I had to do, clean it all up. And for my men out there, you have to do the same. If you go to manscaped.com/chat, you get 20% off plus free shipping, some fantastic deals. And look, your ladies, they don't want to have to go through a forest when you're getting intimate. So, hey, head to manscaped.com/chat, take care of all of that, and you'll be in a much better position. Let's get to Mel Kiper's latest big board, and I know Tom Downey is really pumped up to talk about some of these prospects. No surprise coming in at number 1, it's Trevor Lawrence. He's going to go to the Jacksonville Jaguars. We don't need to say much else.
I have nothing to add. You guys know him. Next.
Kyle Pitts coming in at number 2, a guy who I think is going to be a generational superstar.
I love him. I got him number 3 on my own, but I'm not going to argue about him being number 2 overall. Like, he's awesome. Plug him in and play at tight end. He's going to be a superstar player. At least has that upside. So no complaints about a tight end, unusual, being as high as number 2 there.
This is where things start to get a little bit interesting. DeVonta Smith at number 3, ahead of guys like Jamar Chase and Jalen Waddle. What do you think about this?
Look, I think it's kind of come down to like ice cream. Like everyone has their preferred flavor. And you could go with DeVonta Smith, of course, won the Heisman Trophy. He's a fantastic route runner, great hands. He is a bit slender, but whatever. You go with Jamar Chase. He's number 4 on Mel Kiper's big board here, where coming off a great pro day, which we kind of expected, and great at the test to catch and put up Smith-like numbers the year before Smith did, opted out, but he's super young too. Like, there are all these great prospects at receiver. So however you want to rank them, I'm not going to complain. He's got Jalen Waddle, by the way, at number 5. Having those guys basically touching in terms of the way you build out your draft board, those tags are touching, you can't really complain about it, right? Like, all 3 are great. I love all of them. They got their strengths, got their weaknesses. Whoever you want to put at wide receiver 1 and wide receiver 3, it's fine with me, as long as it's one of those 3 guys.
It's going to be an interesting debate as to which receiver goes first and who has the better long-term career. But if you're a general manager in the NFL, my people, you have to pick one. Who's it going to be? DeVonta Smith, Jamar Chase, or Jalen Waddle? If it's Smith, type DS in the comments. If it's Chase, type JC. Or if it's Jalen Waddle, a guy who a lot of people are sleeping on, type JW. Let's continue on with Mel Kiper's latest big board. He has Justin Fields coming in at number 6.
Yeah, he and I see Fields pretty similarly. So you guys know about Fields. I'll make this quick note. Stop scouting the helmet. I don't care that, there are no great Ohio State quarterbacks. You know what else, guys? Comments from 2017, there have never been a great Texas Tech quarterback. Go even further back. There have been no great Cal quarterbacks. Don't scout them. If you don't like Fields, okay. But do it based on the film study as opposed to what logo's on his helmet. I think just saying, there are no good Ohio State quarterbacks is stupid.
Now, you're pretty high on Justin Fields. Are you high on Zach Wilson, who's been skyrocketing up boards and comes in at number 7?
I've got them both with round 1 grades, and I have them in the same order, too. I have them as Trevor Lawrence, Justin Fields, Zach Wilson. I haven't stacked all the prospects yet outside of like the top 3 guys because I'm just going through other players right now, but they'll probably come in around the top 10.
So here at Chat Sports, we bring you the latest news and rumors. We do some recaps. We bring you whatever's hot out there. We also have Tom Downey over here, who's one of the best draft analysts and experts in the game. So are you subscribed to our Chat Sports main YouTube channel? If not, subscribe right now. Hit that big red button because we'll continue to push out videos like this one. And head to youtube.com/chatsportstv and join the squad now. Let's continue on with Mel Kiper's latest big board. And I'm surprised that Penei Sewell is in at number 8. For a lot of other people's boards, he's much higher, but for Kiper, he comes in at 8.
He's 2 for me.
2.
He's number 2.
Yeah.
And I get it. This is kind of a tier break in general, I think, for most people, where you got the quarterbacks, the receivers, a tight end, then Penei Sewell somewhere in there. I think it's always been a bit of a victim of nitpicking, kind of like I've seen some with Justin Fields, where we've known about Penei Sewell for so long, we kind of want somebody else to talk about, and they end up sliding down the board further than they should.
Yeah, scouts rave about Sewell. They worry about his balance, and as we move
He dominated at age 19.
Exactly.
Don't overthink it.
And a guy like Rashawn Slater, who is in at number 9 on this big board, sat out last year, but a lot of people forget that when he had to go up against Chase Young, who's going to be a Pro Bowler and All-Pro for the next decade, he fared pretty well.
He fared really well. He also got beat by Zach Bond on one pass rush, one of, I think, the only quarterback hits he allowed in his time at Northwestern in a not offensive line demanding scheme, but neither was Oregon. I like Slater a lot. He has a round 1 grade from me on top of that. So I got Slater behind Sewell. What I found interesting here was that Kiper put him as a guard.
Yes.
And I kind of hate this because, yes, Rashawn Slater can be a great guard. He could be a great tackle, too. And the NFL does this thing where we're like, oh, we got no tackles. Well, stop putting the good ones at guard. Like, yeah, maybe get a Zach Martin type result, but he was a guard mostly at Notre Dame. Same with Quentin Nelson. So he played left tackle. I know the arm length is not ideal necessarily. I've seen other tackles not have great arm length and be fine. I'm playing him at tackle. If he's not great at tackle, then play him at guard.
Yeah.
But give him a shot at tackle first.
I agree with you. So Kiper thinks he's a guard. What do you all think? Is Rashawn Slater a guard? Type A if you agree with Kiper. Type D if you disagree. Speaking of guys who might be a tackle, might be a guard, and has short arms, Elijah Vera Tucker, number 10.
This is a little bit higher than what I have him. Vera Tucker is going to be an easy top 30 prospect for me. I have what I call a round 1/round 2 grade. I only have 15 round 1 grades this year, which is not actually that uncommon across the NFL. I like him. He, I think, is going to be a guard in the NFL, even though he played tackle this year. I just don't have him as a top 10 guy for me.
We transition to the number 11 spot. I think Micah Parsons, I know there are character concerns there. I think he has the potential to wreck games like Devin White did in the playoffs last year. Are you high on him?
I like him. I have a round 1 grade on him, even amidst those character concerns. Positional value is a thing here, too. It is an off-ball linebacker, and I do have coverage concerns there, too, which is a big deal at the linebacker spot.
You and Kiper must be tight because Mac Jones at 12, I think you like him at that slot, don't you?
I don't.
You don't?
No.
Higher or lower?
Lower. Mac
wow.
Jones is my quarterback 5. I have a straight round 2 grade on, which I know sounds like, oh, Tom's hating on Mac Jones. I like Mac Jones. I think he's going to have a long career as a, if not low-end to medium-end starter, as a great backup quarterback, but I'm much more intrigued by Kiper's 13th guy, and that's Trey Lance. Yeah. Because the upside of Trey Lance, even though there is unquestionably more risk, and because I'm not going to get fired if I take Trey Lance, give me Lance. Like, the arm strength and the athletic ability, Lance is either greater to or equal than any quarterback in this year's class, in both areas. Now, yes, he needs some time, but I would rather gamble on a home run potential top 10 quarterback in Trey Lance than someone who I think in Mac Jones will end up being Jimmy G, which is good. If you get me Jimmy G at pick 20, for example, I love it. If I'm taking him at pick 12 or top 10, now wait a minute here, especially when a guy like Trey Lance is on the board.
Yeah, Lance, hey, he played one game last year. A lot of people like to point that out, but he was given the authority to change plays at the line of scrimmage, which is important to know.
His pre-game practice work and all the stuff that he went through is very advanced. The stuff that the team had him do in terms of pre-scouting and film study, all that stuff, that's going to help him in the NFL.
Hey, sometimes we just nerd out here at Chat Sports. In at number 14, a guy who you have some thoughts on, don't you?
Yeah, Jamin Davis is a fun prospect, and I've got him at linebacker 3. I finished my study of him last night, by the way. Kiper's got him at 14, and that's early for me. Part of the reason why no one talked about Jamin Davis is he has a literal 1-year sample size. Like, he was not supposed to play or started for Kentucky this year. The guy ahead of him, Chris Oates, unfortunately, had a stroke. So he was out. Davis steps up, and he's got that long, kind of lanky frame. Really, really good athlete. I got some coverage concerns because Kentucky was like, just do spot drop zones, which is fine, but you want to do more than that in the NFL. But he has all the traits that you're searching for there. Good tackler, a bit too lanky at times for me. I have coverage concerns. PFF had him at 26 man cover snaps the entire year. That's nothing. That's a very small amount there. I have a comp for you, which I don't always have. Now, I think Davis, and I got to check the testing here, not as good in coverage overall and is a bit longer than this player. But I think if he hits, and relative to where they were coming out, so this was a third-round pick, Fred Warner is my comp
love
there.
Fred Warner.
Because they kind of have
He's a beast.
They look kind of similar. They're built outside of the length in a similar way. So he's not coverage-wise there yet. Kiper seems like he thinks that he is. I just got him lower. He's my number 3 linebacker, though.
Now, Caleb Farley, before he got injured, who comes in at number 15, was your number 1 cornerback. Kiper now has him at 15, which is right in the neighborhood of where he last had him.
He was going to be top 10 from before the back injury. If you trust the back, he's a top 15 lock. I cannot right now, so I bopped him down to round 2. Purely talent-wise, though, I'd have him even higher on my board.
Now, we discussed those quarterbacks there, Mac Jones and Trey Lance. If you're a general manager running an NFL franchise, you have to pick one. Who do you got? If it's Mac Jones, type M. If it's Trey Lance, type T.
Give me Trey Lance. I'm going for the home run there. And if I get fired, that's okay. I'm an NFL GM. I'm going to find a job somewhere else.
Land on your feet elsewhere. How about Kwity Paye?
He is indicative of this entire edge rushing class in the sense that
it's not deep.
It is deep in round 2.
Exactly.
It's not deep in round
players.
1 because you've got the best athletic guys like a Kwity Paye, for example, or Jason Owe, do not have the production that you want. So one of these guys is going to hit impressively. Maybe it's Kwity Paye. Others are going to be pretty big busts. So you better know which one you're picking and be right about it.
Now that Caleb Farley has had that second back procedure, Patrick Surtain is now your number 1 cornerback, and for Kiper, he's 17th on this big board.
He's going to come in around top 12 for me once I actually stack everybody. He did not run the agility drills at his pro day for a reason, because they weren't going to be as good as his 40, which is fine. He can be a number 1 corner in the NFL. I'm not going to overthink the Alabama cornerback, who's been really good for 3 years. Like, that's not something that I want to do. So he is an easy round 1 grade for me, and I've only got a couple more round 1 grades left, at least on Kiper's big board.
Chase Sr. and Tom Downey here with you. Today's show brought to you by our friends at Manscaped. Tom has the perfect package. I do too. So do these draft prospects that are going to get drafted at the end of April. And if you want to get on our level, we're talking about the prospects too, you got to hit up Manscaped. 20% off and free shipping if you go to manscaped.com/chat. The Lawnmower 3.0, an excellent product. It's even got that guard on there. So if you like to keep a little something down low, not necessarily go right to the skin, you use that guard to have a little bit of a bush there.
It helps it not get cut either.
Exactly.
And no one wants
and
that.
That's
painful.
the biggest thing. You don't want to be in pain. So manscaped.com/chat. You get 20% off free shipping. Look at the toiletry bag as well.
Super
and then
handy.
the briefs are clutch.
They are so comfortable.
Yes, takes away the bulge, so you're not walking around the office and people are looking at you down there like, yo, you got to hide that thing. So, and then you also have the ball toner, which is an awesome product.
Help you feel
as
fresh
well.
down there, you know?
Fresh. Yeah. And we are keeping it fresh here. And ball deodorant. Yeah. So after you work out a lot, you can use that ball deodorant, and I know some people, they put their hand down there and they smell their fingers, and it's brutal. The ball deodorant takes care of that, so you can get the perfect package. We save balls, Manscaped saves balls, and you can save your balls by going to Chat Sports, manscaped.com/chatsports, 20% off plus free shipping. Let's continue on and stop talking about balls and get to Mel Kiper's big board. And
we're
lot
talking
of
about balls
here over the last couple of picks, and a guy who is going to get targeted with some balls, J.C. Horn.
Yeah, and the Auburn game alone was like, oh man, this guy should go round 1. He's very grabby, and so is Patrick Surtain. Both those guys are grabby, but Surtain holds and uses the no illegal contact rule in his favor because it's very subtle. Horn does it and then gets up and goes, was I flagged? And dial that in a little bit. I like J.C. Horn a lot. I've also got a round 1 grade here on him too.
Yeah, and as the NFL calls more and more flags, cornerbacks who are physical like that, they can get flagged a lot. So Jeremiah Owusu-Karamoah, a really intriguing prospect. This is a guy who starred at Notre Dame last year. Now, he might not be like a top 12, top 13 pick, but I think this is a guy who's going to be a productive player for a really long time.
He's my linebacker 1.
Oh.
I have him over Parsons and Jamin Davis. So
Okay.
ironically, Kiper and I disagree on linebackers. Some people think he's going to be a safety. I've watched Darius Leonard and Deion Jones play at maybe 220. Jeremiah Owusu-Koramoah can do that. Plug him in as your weak side linebacker. Let him go run and chase people.
Trevon Merrick, a guy who is shooting up draft boards and a guy who I really like. Now, in an era where safeties aren't allowed to be as physical as they once were when Ed Reed, Brian Dawkins, Troy Polamalu were around, Merrick has a little bit of that to his game.
And I think he's a good fit as a either split safety or can line up some in the slot, can play some free safety. I don't know if he's quite good enough to be a true dynamic cover one guy, but of the safeties, he's my number one guy this year, just narrowly edged out Richie Grant.
We just hit on 5 straight defensive players. You know what a good question is, Tom?
Yeah.
Who's going to be the first defender drafted in April's NFL draft?
If Parsons' off-the-field stuff checks out, and there's been, of course, the lawsuit, there's been some general maturity concerns, there was the weird Ohio State stuff too. If all that checks out, I think he ends up being the first guy off the board. If not, I think it's Patrick Surtain at number 10 to the Dallas Cowboys.
To the Chat Sports homies, get in the comments. Let us know who you think will be the first defender drafted in April's NFL draft. Look forward to seeing what you guys come up with. And speaking of defenders, we move on to Greg Newsome.
I like Newsome a lot. He is my new number 3 cornerback. I've got him over Caleb Farley after the back issue. Limited sample size this year, but I think he can be a potential number 1 corner. And he was great against the very good Ohio State receivers before he got hurt.
We move forward to Jalen Phillips, an intriguing prospect. Injury issues at UCLA. Maybe he didn't want to play that much football at some point in his future. And now he's possibly a first-round pick.
I hate doing this because it's not fair, but this is what the NFL is going to say.
Yes.
So don't blame me. Blame the mean NFL. He loves music. And NFL teams want people who only love the NFL. So that will have to at least be mentioned. I'm not. He's my number 1 edge this year. Just kind of a muddled class. The medical is key. If teams clear him medically after the history of concussions, he's going to be the first edge. If not, they're going to go in a different direction.
Are you surprised that Mel Kiper has Christian Darrisaw at 23? Is that a little low for you or not?
Yes and no. It is low for me. This is the last of the 16, whatever it is, pure round 1 grades I have on people. I think the reasoning here, and I do get it, is that in general you want your offensive lineman to be a mean mother. You want him to just want to bully guys. Not what Darrisaw always did. There were times he was like, I'll just kind of hang out for a little bit. That's not always ideal.
Couple more players to get to. Kadarius Toney. Mel Kiper has him listed at 24 on this big board. Give me a player comp maybe who's in the NFL right now if you have one.
Toney's a unique player, and he doesn't have the greatest pure straight line speed, but he's so shifty and dynamic and deadly with the ball in his hands that I'm not going to compare to Tyreek Hill because that's not fair, but maybe a Deebo Samuel type player where you might have to scheme for him a little bit, but he's going to make big plays.
Najee Harris at 25. Some people have Travis Etienne as the better running back. Mel Kiper has Najee Harris. What say you?
I got Etienne, but they're touching, so I'm not going to complain for anyone that has Najee Harris as RB1.
So those are the 25 players on Mel Kiper's latest big board. A lot of really dynamic players and good players who we did not mention. So we ask you this, people. Which player is Mel Kiper Jr. sleeping on? Let us know in the comments a player that Mel Kiper is sleeping on. Tom, what do you think?
2 names, one of which I forgot to put on this next graphic. Tevin Jenkins from Oklahoma State and Christian Barmore. I've got both of those guys as round 1/2 grades.
Barmore's
so they're going to be,
Yeah.
Well, I meant to put Landon Dickerson on here.
Okay, he was doing cartwheels yesterday, so the ACL is all right.
He should be high if you trust the injury.
Yeah.
Which I guess Kiper doesn't, but Farley's on there. So, look, that's how big boards tend to work. I will make one more note here, by the way. Gregory Rousseau was not on his board. That's a change from Kiper and makes me wonder if the NFL in general is catching up with draft media of, hey, we don't actually think Gregory Rousseau at all should end up being a round 1 pick.
Yeah, so which player is Mel Kiper sleeping on in this mock draft? Let us know.